It was supposed to be a weekend to remember. Me, Tyler, Sam, and Josh, old friends from college, now scattered across cities and jobs, finally together again for a camping trip deep in the northern woods. We pitched our tents near a wide clearing, miles from any road, lit a fire, passed drinks, and traded stories. The night air was sharp with pine and wood smoke. The sky above us was a blanket of stars. It was perfect. Until I heard the clicking. It came from the trees, just beyond the ring of firelight, soft at first, faint, like the sound of two stones tapping together. Click, click, almost rhythmic. I paused mid-sentence. "You guys hear that?" The others stopped and listened. Josh shrugged. "Crickets?" "No," I said, "it's slower than that." Sam waved it off. Probably branches or a squirrel chewing something. But I wasn't convinced, because the sound didn't seem random. It sounded intentional, like something calling out. That night, as the others slept, I lay awake in my tent, listening. The wind rustled gently through the trees. The fire outside had long since died. The woods should have been silent, but they weren't. Click, 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 closer now. And then, a whisper, too soft to make out. But it was there, right outside my tent. I held my breath. The sound faded. Eventually I slept, but not for long. The next day I kept hearing it. Not constantly, not loud, just enough to make my skin crawl. When we hiked to the river, I heard it behind the trees. When we stopped to eat, it echoed through the branches above us. When I knelt to tie my boot, I thought I saw something, just for a second, standing behind a tree, too far to see clearly. Watching. Clicking. That night, I couldn't sleep. At 2:37 a.m., I unzipped my tent and stepped into the cool air. The fire had burned low. The woods were deathly still. And from beyond the tree line, click, 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 then a whisper. My name. It wasn't loud, it wasn't urgent, it was inviting. I turned back to wake the others, but when I looked over my shoulder, their tents were gone. Panic bloomed in my chest. I spun around. "Tyler, Sam, Josh!" Nothing, just trees. The clearing was still there, the fire still burned low. But the tents, the bags, the laughter we'd shared the night before, all gone. Click, click. I turned toward the sound. There, just beyond the trees, I saw a figure, too tall, skin pale in the moonlight. Arms long, almost too long, ending in fingers like branches, and in its hand it held a small, flat stone. It tapped it against another slowly. Click, click, then it turned and walked into the forest. I should have run, should have screamed. Instead, I followed. The forest grew darker the deeper I went. The trees twisted into unnatural shapes, their trunks bent and knotted like old bones. The ground was wet, the air smelled like rotting leaves and something older. The clicking was louder now, echoing in all directions, sometimes ahead, sometimes behind me, sometimes right beside my ear. But I never saw the figure again, only its sound, leading me deeper and deeper, until I reached it, a clearing. Dead trees circling a pit in the earth, black and bottomless. The air was still, the moon gone, and across the pit I saw them, my friends. But they didn't move, didn't speak. They stood still, side by side, eyes wide and glassy, mouths open in silent screams, skin pale like wax, their bodies twitching in slow, jerky movements like marionettes pulled by invisible strings. And then I heard it again, the clicking. Right behind me, I turned and saw myself. My double stood there, head cocked, eyes hollow, grinning. It raised its hand, two stones, click, click, and I felt something snap inside me. My body wouldn't move, my fingers twitched, my legs locked, and somewhere deep inside I heard my voice whisper, "You're mine now." I woke up in the clearing. My friends were back, sleeping peacefully in their tents. The fire had burned low. The moon hung overhead. For a moment, I thought it was all a dream, until I heard the clicking again, inside my head, and when I looked at my hands, I was still holding the stones. It started with a sound, a soft, irregular clicking that echoed faintly from the walls of my bedroom like something inside was tapping. Not like rodents or pipes, too slow, too deliberate, like fingernails. At first I ignored it, told myself it was just the old house settling. I had only moved in 2 weeks earlier, quiet neighborhood, cheap rent, and the kind of isolation I'd been craving after years of apartment living. No roommates, no neighbors close by, just me. And the sound, click, click, click. The first few nights it only came after midnight, always from the same corner of the room, behind the wall. Sometimes it stopped for hours, then started again. I tried to sleep through it, but I'd always wake up, same time around 3 a.m., drenched in sweat, heart racing, and that corner would be quiet, watching, waiting. I started placing my ear to the wall. Sometimes I'd hear nothing. Other times, something else. A breath, slow, shallow. Like something just behind the drywall was listening to me, too. I mentioned it to my friend Sarah during a call. She laughed nervously. "You sure you didn't just bring something with you?" "Like what?" "I don't know. Something that followed you from the last place." She was joking, I think. A week later, I woke up in the middle of the night. It wasn't the clicking this time, it was the shadows. Moving. Right outside my bedroom door. At first, I thought someone had broken in. I froze, barely breathing, watching the bottom gap beneath the door as something passed in front of it, blocking the light from the hallway just for a second. Then again and again, slow, dragging steps, like someone walking barefoot across the wooden floor. But I hadn't left a light on. Not in the hallway. Not anywhere. And I lived alone. I locked my door, sat up all night, gripping the baseball bat I kept under my bed. In the morning, everything was normal. Door still locked. No footprints. No sign of forced entry. Just the clicking in the walls again. Louder now. More impatient. I tried to record it. Set my phone on the dresser one night with the voice memo app running. The next morning, I hit play. It was faint at first, normal background sounds. Then around 3:08 a.m., the clicking started, followed by a whisper. So quiet I had to replay it 5 times. It said, "I see you now." I tried everything. Earplugs, sleeping pills, white noise machines. Nothing worked. And every night, it got worse. The shadows grew bolder, not just outside the door now. I saw them inside the room, moving past the window, standing in corners when I blinked. Once I woke up to the closet door wide open, something I never do. Inside, hanging upside down from the top shelf, was an old coat I didn't own. It was soaking wet and clicking. I called a contractor to inspect the walls. He spent about an hour tapping around with a stud finder before frowning and asking me a strange question. "Did you say this wall backs up to a closet?" "No," I said. "It's solid, just the outer wall of the house." He looked confused. "There's a space back there, maybe a foot wide, runs from the floor to the ceiling." "An old crawl space? More like a shaft, but it's narrow, unfinished." He left not long after that. He didn't close the front door behind him. That night, I moved a bookshelf and pried the drywall back with a hammer. It crumbled easily. Behind it was a narrow vertical shaft, dark, dusty, smelling of mold and earth. It was barely wide enough for a person to stand in. But someone had been. On the inside of the shaft, carved into the wood, were scratches. Dozens. No, hundreds. Some were deep gouges. Others looked like words. The only one I could make out was repeated over and over and over again. "Let me in." I sealed the wall back up. But the clicking didn't stop. It got worse. Now it came from all the walls. Every room, every night. And the shadows didn't wait for darkness anymore. They moved during the day. Reflections didn't match my movements. Lights turned off while I was still in the room. And the worst part, my reflections started smiling when I wasn't. Last night, I woke up to complete silence. No clicking, no shadows, just stillness. And then the door creaked open, slow, inches at a time. I sat up, breath caught in my throat. In the doorway stood a figure, too tall, limbs too thin. Head tilted unnaturally to one side. It stepped inside, one slow click of its heel on the floor, then another and another. I backed into the corner, gripping the bat, my hands shaking so hard I couldn't hold it steady. The figure stepped into the sliver of moonlight. It was me, pale, grinning. Its mouth opened and made a sound, click, click, click. Then it whispered, "You're finally hollow enough." This morning I looked in the mirror. It blinked before I did, and smiled. I didn't. At first, it was barely noticeable. Just a faint click-click, like someone tapping their fingernails on glass. It came at night, when the house was quiet and my thoughts were too loud. I'd be laying in bed, eyes open in the dark, and I'd hear it, click. I thought it was the heating pipes, or maybe something outside, branches maybe. I lived with 2 of my best friends, Tyler and Jace, and our place wasn't exactly new. There were always strange creaks and groans in the walls, but this was different. Because after a few nights, the clicking started getting closer. It followed me. I'd hear it in the bathroom when I brushed my teeth with the fan off, in the hallway just after I turned off the lights, in the kitchen between the hum of the fridge and the silence of the night. Click, click, like something tapping its fingers on the inside of the walls, like something waiting. I asked Tyler if he heard it. What clicking, he said. You mean like a clock? No, not that. It's sharper. He gave me a look. You sure you're not just overtired? I didn't ask Jace. I didn't want two sets of eyes telling me I was crazy, but I knew what I heard. The worst part wasn't the sound, it was what came after. The voice, soft, low, almost polite. It started in whispers, words I couldn't quite make out. Then one night it spoke clearly. Don't ignore me. I froze. I was alone in the house. Both Tyler and Jace were out. I hadn't even turned on the lights. I'd just gotten back from work, and as I stood in the living room, the clicking started. Then came the voice. A voice that came from nowhere, and yet, somehow, from inside me. It kept talking, night after night. It said strange things, wrong things. It asked me to do things. Take the mirror down, lock the door, leave it locked. You know they talk about you when you're not there. I told it to shut up. I screamed at it, but the more I fought, the louder it became, and the clicking, it never stopped. I told Tyler and Jace everything. I couldn't keep it to myself anymore. They looked at me like I had lost it. Bro, Jace said, you need sleep. You sure you're not hearing, like, rats in the walls? Tyler added, not unkindly. I mean, you've been stressed, working like crazy. I wanted to believe that. I did, until the mirror laughed at me. It happened one night when I was brushing my teeth. The bathroom light was dim, buzzing softly. I hadn't heard the clicking in hours. I thought maybe it was over. Maybe I'd finally shut it out. Then I looked up, and my reflection was smiling. Not in sync with me, not normal. It was smiling when I wasn't. A big, wide grin splitting my face open in the glass. I dropped the toothbrush, stepped back. The reflection laughed, soundless. A horrible, gaping, shaking laugh. I turned and ran. When I looked again, it was just me. Pale, sweating, eyes wide. The voice returned with something new. They're not your friends. They don't believe you. They'll leave you soon, but I'll still be here. I stopped leaving my room. I stopped eating with them, talking to them, because the voice was right. They looked at me like I was broken, like I was a crack in the wall they didn't want to admit was spreading. And the mirror kept laughing. One night, the clicking came from inside the bedroom, right by my head. I turned slowly. The lamp flickered. The voice whispered, louder than ever, "It's time. You're ready now. Look at me. Let me out." The mirror stood in the corner, covered with a towel, but the edges, they pulsed, like something behind it was breathing. I reached for the towel. I didn't want to. My hands did it anyway. I pulled it down. My reflection was there, but it wasn't me. Not anymore. Its smile was wide, too wide. Its skin too tight across its face, like it was stretched over something else. It moved when I didn't. It opened its mouth and whispered, "Let me wear you." The glass cracked, just a hairline fracture, a whispering line of dark across the surface. The reflection smiled wider and raised its hand. So did I. I didn't want to, but my body wasn't mine anymore. I don't remember what happened next. I woke up on the bathroom floor, face numb, blood in my mouth. The mirror was shattered. My friends found me 2 days later after I stopped replying to texts. They said I was muttering to myself, laughing. My hands were covered in tiny cuts, my nails cracked and black. They moved out the next day. I don't blame them. Now the clicking never stops. It's in my head, in my bones, and when I look in any reflection, I don't see myself. I see him, smiling, waiting, and laughing louder than ever, because now I laugh with him.